welcome back to the Daily Compulsion. Originally, I had not planned on making a second video about the hot LEGO topic that is still virulently making its way through the feeds of anyone who consumes any LEGO or legal content online. That topic, of course, being the great importance of boycotting bricks and minifigs, also known as BAM. But due to the overwhelming positive response of my first video and new developments and information, I've decided to make a second video. Hang on a moment, someone left my monorail and my LEGO train running. That's better. Now, I won't waste your time by doing any kind of recap about the situation because I can safely assume that you haven't been living inside a cave on Mars with your eyes closed, a plastic bag over your head, and your thumbs jammed into your ears. There are many different enthralling aspects of this case, giving us many different things to talk about, but for this video I am simply going to focus on one thing which is quite interesting to me, and probably directly relates to the way that Bricks and Minifigs handled the Brian Mansell collection and how it dealt with and continues to deal with Reckless Ben. I want to talk about how Bricks and Minifigs the corporation and Bricks and Minifigs the stores actually make money. On my first video about this, a kind person left a comment stating that the BAM Corporation is running a bust-out scam. For those not familiar, this type of scam is illustrated in the 10th episode of the second season of The Sopranos, where a regular guy named Davey gets in way over his head with gambling debts to Tony Soprano, and he has no money to pay. Davey owns a sporting goods store which Tony takes control of. Tony seizes and sells the inventory and also uses the store's credit lines with various vendors to buy additional merchandise which can then be sold in order to balance the gambling debts.
It's starting. It's fucking starting. I'm opening my mail and it's a lawsuit. There's a fucking lien on the building. They're gonna close me down.
Davey, not fucking now, okay?
They're gonna know after this that it's fraud. How am I going to jail for this?
Get the fuck back in your fucking hole! Now!
Now, the difference in the Bricks and Minifigs situation is that instead of gambling debts, BAM Corporate uses a hostile and aggressive financial strategy to force their franchises into debt. BAM Corporate charges the franchises at least $25,000 just to get started, which I think is an insane amount just to purchase a franchise and start running the store. According to the franchise agreement that the Gorman signed, after the store is running, they then have to pay BAM Corporate 6% of monthly gross revenue, or $500, whichever is greater. If any payment is overdue, BAM has the right to charge late fees as well as what it describes as interest. Being that the owner of the franchise is already in the hole no less than $25,000 from the start, and now needs to sell enough LEGO on a monthly basis to pay the rent and keep the lights on, and acquire new inventory, and pay their employees, and pay themselves a living wage so that they can have food on the table, it seems to me that owning a BAM franchise is a complete money pit, and I can't imagine how anyone makes this work.
Where's that money, you silly, stupid old fool? Where's that money? Do you realize what this means? It means bankruptcy and scandal and prison. That's what it means.
So when Crystal Gorman wanted to get out of the business, BAM said that she owed them over $97,000. However, in their termination letter to her, they state that in lieu of paying the outstanding $97,000 and what they call liquidated damages and attorney's fees, BAM could simply assume ownership of the store, which of course includes all the inventory. Seems like a good way to get a bunch of free LEGO. After completing the hostile takeover, Bricks and Minifigs can just sell that location to another unsuspecting business-minded LEGO enthusiast who thinks it would be fun to run a LEGO store. If you have been following the story, you probably know that a former BAM franchise owner who goes by the name The Last Relic has been enthusiastically sharing about his screwed up and convoluted experience with Bricks and Minifigs. His story was hard to follow to say the least, and some of it did not make any sense, and the interviewers at the EchoBase were terrible at clarifying what exactly happened, but overall, it sounded like he got the royal screw job.
And as usual, we Joe 12-packs get the royal screw job.
Homer's right. We're getting the Joan Collins special.
Just like the Gormans, he described how he was charged outrageous fines and pressured into closing his store. And again, like the Gormans, Brandon Best and Josh Johnson were sent in to shut him down. Interestingly, he describes these two assholes as store fixers or store rescuers, where Ammon McNeff has always referred to Josh and Brandon as simply the new franchise owners who are looking to buy a new store in regards to the Salem location. It was always curious why Ammon McNeff found owners who reside in Utah to take over a store located in Oregon. It is now clear that Josh and Brandon are a crucial part of the entire scam playbook that the McNeffs are running, where they place insane restrictions and obstacles in front of their franchises, force them into debt in order to sue them, and then take all of their take all of their Legos. This seems like the entire point of why Ammon and his brother Matt acquired this corporation, to cannibalize their own stores. Disgusting behavior. These men have no honor and no integrity whatsoever. And I think that this touches on one of the reasons why this story went so viral in the first place. People think of Lego as an innocent hobby. Lego is a children's toy, and it reminds people of their own childhoods. So when people hear about an old man or a kind and funny YouTuber getting the Joan Collins special and treated very, very badly by what should be a respected anchor of the Lego community, people find that really, really distasteful. Again, if you have been following this, you probably are aware of the McNeff's backstory with their family company called Legally Mine, which is another rabbit hole that I won't bother to cover here, but it completely substantiates the idea that the McNeffs are all scumbag pieces of shit. Moving on, there is a wonderful YouTube video called The Chihuahua Effect, BAM Franchising Financial Analysis, by an informative and funny man whose YouTube channel is called EagleDog. I have placed a link in the description. Unlike CoffeeZilla, eagleDog does an actual real deep dive into the BAM Corporation by analyzing their financials. He describes how it is pretty clear that BAM as a corporation only makes money from franchise fees, and he shows where BAM is forced to admit this themselves in an area agreement specific to the state of California.
This is a state-specific addenda to Area Development Agreement. California, down here, the department has determined that we, the franchisor, have not demonstrated we are adequately capitalized and or that we must rely on franchise fees to fund our operations.
Whoa, buddy! They're undercapitalized! They have cash flow problems! This information really gives a lot of credence to what people have been saying all along when they refer to bricks and minifigs with terms like Ponzi scheme or multi-level marketing. EagleDog theorizes that the reason Ammon McNeff keeps putting his stupid face in front of cameras and subjecting himself to uncomfortable interviews despite being a stammering, inarticulate, lying liar who makes himself and his company look terrible every time he opens his mouth is because he is trying to reassure and placate the BAM franchises, especially the ones who have paid their initial $25,000 or $30,000 fee but have not yet opened their stores. Ammon wants the franchisees to believe everything is going to be fine, so his house of cards, or house of Legos, doesn't come crashing down any faster than it already is. EagleDog also makes another great observation that I found very interesting. He points out that all outstanding BAM gift cards are like interest-free microloans that consumers have given the corporation, helping to keep it afloat. For now. Let this be a public service announcement that buying Lego at BAM locations with BAM gift cards is allowed during this boycott and is in fact encouraged. Using these gift cards is like demanding payment on the money you loaned to BAM. It makes one wonder how long Bricks and Minifigs could continue to exist, even without the firestorm of negative attention. This is what you get for pissing off the internet, aka the world's largest detective agency, which also serves as the world's largest news reporting service. Attempting to end this video on a positive note, I will mention that we got some good news the other day in regards to the legal bullshit, with BAM and the defendants jointly agreeing to modify the temporary restraining order to a preliminary injunction. If the judge signs off on this, it would free Reckless Ben to release part 3 of his video series, which is sure to be pure kino. In conclusion, please stop supporting Bricks and Minifigs the corporation by not shopping at Bricks and Minifigs the stores. We have so much evidence that this is a bad company owned by bad men who are casting a dark shadow on the hobby and the community that we care about. Although I do feel bad for the store owners, who I think are also victims of the McNeffs, I would argue that by boycotting the BAM stores and encouraging them to separate from the corporation, we are doing them a big favor in giving them the courage to cast off the chains of their Mormon oppressors and pointing them in the direction of a new Lego freedom. Thank you for watching. This is the Daily Compulsion, signing off.
What's the end? The end? It's planned bankruptcy. Hey, you're not the first guy to get busted out. This is how a guy like me makes a living. This is my bread and butter. When this is over, you're free to go. You can go anywhere you want.